I can absolutely write that story, but I can't help create or present fictional content in a way that is likely to make viewers believe it is a real event involving a CEO or other real-world scenario without making the fictional nature clear. Here's a version presented as an original fictional story. Writing. The CEO asked a single dad, "Still upset with me?" His answer changed everything. The conference room fell completely silent the moment the CEO looked across the polished table and quietly asked the single father, "Still upset with me?" Every executive froze. Some lowered their eyes. Others waited for anger, blame, or a public confrontation that had been building for years. Instead, the exhausted father took a slow breath, looked out through the bright daytime windows overlooking the busy city, and gave an answer that no one expected, an answer that would forever change not only the company's future but every heart inside that room. Before we continue this emotional story, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who believes in kindness and second chances, and subscribe to Echoes the Stories if you believe that compassion can change lives more than power ever could. Your support helps these stories reach people who need hope. Morning sunlight poured across the sidewalks as people hurried toward offices, coffee shops, and crowded intersections, each carrying invisible burdens of their own. Among them walked Rowan Mercer, a 38-year-old widowed father whose worn blue shirt had been carefully ironed before sunrise by hands that barely had time to rest. His dark brown hair showed the first streaks of gray from years of stress, while the faint circles beneath his eyes revealed countless sleepless nights. Every morning followed the same rhythm. He prepared breakfast, packed school lunches, tied his 9-year-old daughter Myra's dark braided hair, checked her homework, and reminded her to keep smiling no matter how difficult life became. Only after making sure she felt loved did he rush toward the headquarters of one of the largest technology companies in the city, where he worked far below the executive level despite possessing talent that many quietly admired. Few people knew how much Rowan had sacrificed. Years earlier he had dreamed of becoming one of the company's leading innovators. He had worked late nights, developed solutions that saved projects from failure, and believed hard work would eventually be recognized. But life changed suddenly when his wife passed away after a brief illness, leaving him to raise Mira alone. Promotions disappeared as he declined travel assignments and overtime meetings. Colleagues advanced while Rowan quietly accepted smaller responsibilities that allowed him to reach the school before closing time. Some people assumed he had become less ambitious. They never realized he had simply chosen his daughter over every opportunity placed before him. The company's leader, Adrian Holloway, had built a reputation as a brilliant executive whose decisions created enormous success. Tall, sharply dressed, and respected throughout the industry, Adrian was admired for his intelligence but often criticized for appearing emotionally distant. Years earlier he had rejected one of Rowan's most important proposals during a difficult financial period. That decision had indirectly cost Rowan a promotion he desperately needed while medical bills were consuming every dollar he earned. Although Rowan never publicly complained, many employees quietly believed the CEO had ruined the single father's career without ever understanding the consequences. Time continued moving forward. Rowan remained dependable, arriving early each morning and leaving exactly on time to collect Mira from school. His co-workers noticed that although he rarely spoke about his struggles, he always found time to help new employees, encourage overwhelmed teammates, and stay calm during moments when everyone else panicked. His quiet kindness became more memorable than any title he never received. One sunny afternoon the company announced a major restructuring. Rumors spread that layoffs were coming. Anxiety filled every hallway. Parents worried about mortgages. Young graduates feared losing their first jobs. Rowan listened to every whisper while pretending to remain calm, but inside he wondered how he would provide for Mira if his position disappeared. That evening, instead of telling his daughter about his fears, he smiled through dinner, helped with homework, and listened as she excitedly described painting colorful flowers in art class beneath a bright blue sky. Her laughter reminded him why he continued fighting every single day. Unexpectedly, Rowan received an invitation to attend a high-level strategy meeting usually reserved for senior leadership. Confused employees watched him enter the executive floor for the first time in years. The meeting room overlooked the city under clear daylight, its glass walls reflecting the determination and uncertainty on every face seated around the long table. As reports concluded and silence settled across the room, Adrian stood and looked directly at Rowan. The CEO's expression carried something unfamiliar, not authority, but regret. Without rehearsed speeches or corporate language, he quietly asked, "Still upset with me?" Everyone expected years of frustration to finally erupt. Some imagined Rowan exposing every disappointment he had endured. Others prepared for an uncomfortable confrontation that would echo through the company for months. Instead, Rowan remained silent for several moments. He thought about hospital waiting rooms, unpaid bills, lonely birthdays, mornings spent packing lunches before dawn, evenings helping with homework after exhausting workdays, and every sacrifice that no performance review could measure. He remembered wishing someone in leadership had understood what life looked like outside the office. Then he gently answered. He admitted that for a long time he had been hurt. He believed opportunities had slipped away when he needed them most. There were nights when resentment almost became easier than hope. But over the years he discovered something unexpected. Carrying anger demanded energy his daughter deserved instead. Every moment spent reliving disappointment was a moment stolen from the little girl depending on him. So he slowly let go, not because what happened was fair, but because forgiveness allowed him to become the father Mira needed. The room became completely still. Several executives quietly lowered their heads. Adrian's eyes filled with emotion. For the first time in front of his leadership team, he openly admitted that success had blinded him to the human cost behind many decisions. He confessed that he had judged employees only through reports and productivity charts, never truly seeing the families waiting for them at home. Rowan's answer forced him to confront years of leadership without enough compassion. Over the following weeks, remarkable changes began spreading throughout the company. Flexible schedules were introduced for parents and caregivers. Emergency family assistance programs were created. Mental health support expanded. Performance reviews started recognizing mentorship, teamwork, and character alongside business results. Employees who had quietly struggled for years finally felt seen. When co-workers asked Rowan whether he regretted forgiving the CEO, he simply smiled. He understood that forgiveness had never erased the past. Instead, it opened the door for a better future that countless families would now experience. Meanwhile, Mira noticed changes of her own. Her father came home less worried. He smiled more often during dinner. Weekend mornings became filled with walks through sunny parks, homemade pancakes, library visits, and long conversations about dreams instead of fears. She never fully understood the meeting that changed everything, but she recognized the peaceful expression that had returned to her father's face. Months later, during the company's annual gathering held on a beautiful daytime campus filled with green trees and clear blue skies, Adrian invited Rowan onto the stage before hundreds of employees. Rather than praising profits or business achievements, the CEO spoke about humility. He explained that true leadership begins when people matter more than numbers and that one father's quiet strength had taught him a lesson no business school ever could. The audience rose in a long-standing ovation. Rowan felt embarrassed by the attention, yet deeply grateful that years of invisible sacrifice had finally been understood. He glanced toward the front row where Mira smiled proudly, holding a small handmade card that simply read, "My dad is my hero." At that moment, every difficult morning, every painful setback, and every lonely decision suddenly felt worthwhile. If this story is touching your heart so far, please like this video, leave your thoughts in the comments, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to Echoes the Stories. Your support helps keep stories of kindness, forgiveness, and resilience alive. Special request, comment, kindness changes everything, if you believe forgiveness is one of the greatest strengths a person can have. As the afternoon sun gently illuminated the company courtyard, Rowan realized that life's greatest victories are rarely measured by promotions, salaries, or impressive titles. They are measured by the children who grow up feeling safe because someone chose love over bitterness, by leaders brave enough to admit their mistakes, and by ordinary people who quietly prove that compassion can reshape entire communities. Sometimes the most powerful answer isn't the one that wins an argument. Sometimes it is the one that heals generations. And perhaps that is why everyone who witnessed that simple question, and that unforgettable answer, left the room carrying something far more valuable than success. They carried hope that every broken relationship still has the possibility of becoming the beginning of someone else's brighter tomorrow. If you'd like, I can also make it even more cinematic and emotionally intense for a high-retention YouTube audience.